looked at this yet, but chat has told me that the MPL has been canceled. Damn liberals and their cancel culture canceling things. So before we dive into this, if you're one of my regular viewers, you probably heard us talking about this honestly earlier this week, and I don't have any inside information, so I didn't know that this was coming, but we had actually talked earlier this week about how I think that if you look back on the MPL, like I don't know exactly what their initial goals were of the MPL, but I feel like they definitely weren't able to accomplish what they were able to do, right? Like if you look back on like the metrics from like the league weekends and the tournament weekends and stuff like that, outside of the events where Wizards paid to bot their viewership up, they weren't successful in terms of attracting more people to watch and engage with Magic from that perspective. And honestly, MTG Melee is a great tool, and I enjoy using it. They've made digital Magic tournaments great in a way I didn't think was possible. But like, if you look at the metrics that like what the MTG Melee tournaments have put up in terms of people that are interested in playing Magic competitively on Arena, it's really not been a good look, right? Like, it's, you know, look, if you look at like a random 5K tournament, so a tournament that is like $5,000 in prizes on Melee that like Insight Esports has been doing, those tournaments like regularly have less people, like a random 5K in Chicago that like I would drive to in the before times. Yeah, like, and that's honestly, that runs counterintuitive to what I expected it to be. Like, I expected those types of cash tournaments to be successful on Melee, and I'm kind of surprised that there's been like, you know, these tournaments that you could play from anywhere in the world that like consistently put up worse numbers than, you know, random tournaments in the Midwest or the East Coast. And like there's a lot of factors that go into it. You know, there's a million different reasons that you could say this is why it happened, but push comes to shove at the end of the day, that's the reality of what's happened. So I think it made a lot of people realize that like from the competitive aspect of Magic, being around the people and traveling, you know, and someone like, for people that are familiar with my background, before I started streaming full time, I was in 2 of the Star City Games Players Championships. There were months where I traveled 4 or all 5 weekends in a month. It was a 5-weekend month to travel and play Magic tournaments in the Midwest. And while playing Magic was definitely a fun part of that, like getting in a car with 3 or 4 other people and driving to a convention center, you know, 3, 4, sometimes even 10 hours away, the people was the important part, right? And honestly, like, you know, we're going to dig into the actual article here in a second, but the title here, transitioning to getting back to the gathering, you know, vaccine distribution in the United States is going well. We're going to hopefully have a post-COVID world where we can have tournaments again. And honestly, it sounds like from the title, if I was just looking at this on Reddit and I was going to give you an opinion based on the title, it sounds like this is smart. Also, and we're going to dig into what the article says here in a second, but I think it's also important to understand that like moving away from the MPL structure doesn't have to be the end of digital Magic tournaments, right? But like it also could mean like investing resources into grassroots Magic stuff as opposed to the big tournaments, right? Like, because they've been putting up like these $250,000 and even $750,000 arena tournament prize pools, and like they're almost assuredly not getting good bang on their buck in the return for that, right? Like I think they would be much better served supporting random weekend tournaments and open entry things rather than these big exclusive things trying to capture this kind of esports ticket. Esports is like mostly a buzzword used to sell things to investors. Yeah, so yeah, I'm sure like things like the Arena Opens are probably wildly successful, and I wouldn't be surprised to expect more of that. You read down the article secretly before you said all of that. I didn't. So that's my pre-article take from my background and just opinions on things. Let's take a look at what the article says. As the world looks at a post-COVID future, we are looking towards the next iteration of Magic's competitive play system, one that recaptures the Magic the Gathering we've missed so dearly and expands on opportunities to a wider audience. Play drives everything we do, from your local group or store all the way up to through our world championships. We aim to refocus a play system for everyone. As the world opens up again, the gathering becomes a real possibility. We're going to explore two things: a vision for the future focused on fostering Magic's explosive player growth, creating broader access and opening up widespread play opportunities, and helping us transition the current system through the 2021-22 season into the future. Several years back, we made a significant commitment to Magic esports, introducing the biggest prize pools we've ever had, creating some of the thrilling events we've had to date, and creating professional level league and incorporating digital play in unique and exciting ways. And just as we began forming plans to build on that promise with expand the reach beyond the most elite leagues, COVID sent us back to the drawing board. As a result, we spent quite a bit of time imagining what our post-COVID system is going to look like, and we're not ready to publish details for the 22-23 season and beyond. We did think it's important to share our current thoughts on the future. In-person play is a unique strength for Magic, and we need to lean into that. This means local tournaments, large regional tournaments, and high-level tournaments. Digital play is here to stay, but it's only part of the equation. We've seen great players rise from the digital ranks. We've seen what's possible in digital events. Expect the future will hold a mix of digital and in-person events. Accessibility is important. This means broader access to play. We're looking at everything from locals and to the success of Command Fest to creating more levels of play that are open to wider swaths of players. We need to be patient. We're optimistic for the future we can gather. We also have to be realistic. On high-level Magic tournaments, combine travel, close contact indoors. Yep, that's super realistic. We want to reestablish tabletop play. Our system may need regular updating. So yeah, honestly, like these paragraphs here make me optimistic for whatever they're going to be coming up with here, because these words say to me that the people, at least the people or persons that wrote this article, understand what's important about Magic's competitive play. And something that I've talked about before is Magic, when they moved to the MPL structure, lost something that made it unique in the competitive perspective, in that Magic was awesome from the competitive perspective that anybody that wanted to show up to a bunch of tournaments and do well and put up good results had the ability to do so just by showing up. And I think that getting back to that, where you don't have this, yeah, exactly. The Magic's biggest strength as a game is the variance is a feature, and the fact that me, random mediocre Magic player, can beat someone like LSV or one of the best players in the world, that's a feature, not a bug. And leaning into the idea that like anybody can get to the highest level reasonably is really sweet. And the MPL removed that, right? Like the number of hoops and things you had to jump through to get into Rivals or to get to MPL have removed that. This could be you and you could be here. And that is the most important aspect of Magic, because Magic, and this isn't even exclusive to Magic, but this is card games in general too. Card games aren't watchable by people that don't play them. As someone who's like made an effort in the industry to like watch Hearthstone tournaments and Gwent tournaments and these other card game tournaments just to see if they're easier to pick up, it's impossible to watch any of these card games without being engaged in it. So like MPL and league style things with big prize pool try to push the game towards being more spectator driven, but it's just impossible to have it be spectator driven when your spectators don't know the game, which is why from the card game perspective, from a traditional, that's probably true. It's not true of traditional sports. What I'm about to say is not true of traditional sports at all. Card games tournaments are to create more card game tournament players, whereas traditional sports like football, baseball, all these sorts of things, there are tons of people who watch those games that don't play them. If you pulled, a bunch of people that watch Magic tournaments, the number of people that watch Magic tournaments and don't consider themselves I play Magic is very small. And I don't even think like the dream of you could be a full-time person who only plays Magic for a job is what they need to sell to people. You just need to sell to people, hey, you can have your job, your 40-hour-a-week job, but you could also just show up on the weekend and play a tournament, and that tournament qualifies you for this bigger thing. And that was unique to Magic for so long. And these paragraphs here hopefully imply that that's what they're going to get back to. They're going to get back to, hey, these tournaments are accessible. You don't have to play a qualifier for your qualifier and then sacrifice a small animal on the altar and wait 30 days and find out if you've qualified for the actual tournament you want to play in. The layers on the layers on the layers and the qualifiers and the qualifiers and the qualifiers are confusing and convoluted, and you shouldn't have to jump through that many hoops. You should just get to show up and play the tournament and be excited to play the individual tournament you're playing in. All right, 2021-22 season. Before we can implement our new vision for play, we need to transition from the current system in the upcoming season. The 2021-22 season primary goals are to sunset the current system of play and allow us the freedom and flexibility to create a new play system for the future. Here's what that looks like. The existing set championship structure will remain in place. We'll be increasing the prize pool and updating the prize structure compared to the Strixhaven Championship. Set championships will feature $450,000 in prizes. League weekends and gauntlets will not be run. This will be the final season for Magic Pro and Rivals Leagues. Players will not be competing for another league session. Instead, they will be competing for a place in the World Championship. The World Championships will feature a $250,000 prize pool. Nothing quite says most prestigious event like having almost half the prize pool of this. I don't, okay, sure. What I mean, this is probably technically in this current season, and these are being updated for technically next season. What comes next? The Gathering. That's our guiding star as we look to the future. We aim to return to in-person play as soon as safely possible, and we hope that that's sooner rather than later. In the meantime, we'll be working towards a flexible transition to some more that feels more familiar and features something we've all been missing, sitting across the table from someone playing Magic. Is this for total events? Will feature prize pool. Yeah, this is per event. Yeah, this is a per event prize pool. This is not 150K per. This is 450 per event. So this per event prize is bigger than Worlds for whatever reason. Okay, so let's look at some feedback on the Twitters from Magic Esports, among others. OP will not be explicitly designed to support competitive Magic as a career path. However, there will be Grand Prix, PTQs, and Pro Tour events. Our focus will be the amount of play and the prize money and less on the lifestyle being economically self-sustaining. So, I think they're gonna get flack from people in the community from this. But this, in my opinion, is a good thing, and this mindset hopefully means we're gonna get back to a reasonable system for most people. In a lot of ways, for people that haven't been playing Magic competitively for a decade, you probably don't remember or know about the Pay the Pros hashtag that happened, and the MPL and Rivals League The MPL and Rivals League was basically the monkey paw snapping a finger off to them trying to pay the pros. And this is good. I think the idea that like Magic needed to be this career path, to like playing Magic needed to be able to be a job. I've always been of the opinion that that was unrealistic, and I'm glad that they're coming around to that too. And I think the overall system, I honestly, Neil, I hope that's the case. I hope the approach of spreading the prize money out more, so more people, I remember, the first Magic tournament that I cashed and the first Magic tournament that I top 8'd. And like, it wasn't, I'm gonna quit my job money, but it was like, it was just sweet. Heck, I'm pretty sure the first Magic tournament I top 8'd, like major tournament, didn't even pay for the deck that I bought to play in that tournament. But it was still sweet that like my hobby had paid somewhat for itself. Like that was a sense of accomplishment. I wasn't playing Magic tournaments for the money. I was playing Magic tournaments because I loved playing Magic, and tournaments were sweet. It was a sweet way to spend a weekend. It was just like hanging out with people. And I didn't go in with the goal of like getting rich and that being replacing my day job. It was like, this was a thing we did on the weekends with friends, and it was fun and we enjoyed it. I got a number of followers in here too. Thanks for the follows, folks. I appreciate you hanging out while we talk through. We're gonna be back to playing some Historic in a little bit, but I want to give some thoughts and stuff on this. Probably another 5-10 minutes or so. Evelick, thanks for the Prime support. I appreciate that. There's a lot of great people you can send that to. Thanks for keeping me around. Boneless, thanks for the 37 months. So yeah, again, like nothing is ever going to please everyone. And I think in general, from my perspective, it sounds like the way in which they're going to be approaching restructuring organized play is a good direction overall. I am not surprised that Magic didn't make it as an esport, and that refocusing back to like community focused events that are more for a majority of the players as opposed to like, the fraction of a percent at the top. All right, someone linked me some other things. Let's see. We were told and given permission to say that we should no longer consider Magic professionally moving forward. Sure. They don't have plans set in stone for 22-23 yet, but they've made it very clear that there will no longer have a path to making Pro Magic a career. As they iterate, they want to not go back to anything. It's a bit weird that they left those parts out. I mean, I got that. I don't think they really left that out. I don't think that's accurate. Huey's tweet is pretty vicious. All right, link me. Chat, link me other random. We're gonna be a react stream for the next 10 to 15 minutes or so. I don't think I follow. Oh, is it Huey? Huey Jetson. I should be following him. After years of bad decisions, a lack of coherent vision and leadership, and an inability and unwillingness to improve on failing systems and project, Pro Magic is coming to an end thanks to all of those who supported us over the years. I mean, he's not wrong. Thanks for the Prime Unreal Me. Welcome back. He's not wrong. So you for or against the idea of having MTG as a job for a pro? I have always been of the opinion, since before the MPL existed, that if you wanted to do Magic as a job, you should do what I do here. There is a reason why when I traveled to play Magic, I played in Star City Games events and I focused on making content while doing it. I think I've always pretty much been of the opinion that like just playing the game as opposed to making content should have been a pipe dream, and it was always unrealistic, and like content creation can be a job. Don't like depending on your income coming from tournament winnings in a game that has as much variance as Magic is unrealistic. And the MPL was an attempt to mitigate that variance. I mean, I don't think his take is bad. I don't think it's bad or untrue. They've made Wizards has made a lot of bad decisions, and there's definitely been a lack of coherent vision. And they've bounced around to all sorts of different things. And I get that there's people that all they want to do is play Magic, but that's it's a game, right? A game shouldn't necessarily be a job. We often compared, back when I was traveling to play Magic, before I was doing content creation as a full-time job, before it paid me an income, I worked 40 hours a week, right? It was very comparable to back in the early days of baseball, right? Where people worked a job during their off days. Yeah, and to give you insight into my own financials, because I keep pretty strict records for tax purposes, the year that I finished second on the SCG tour, so I had the second most points from their events. I top aided 25-ish% of the opens that I played in. I traveled to play a ton. My tournament winnings and my travel expenses were almost 1-to-1. The only actual money I made off of Magic in that year, where I finished second traveling to play in a bunch of Magic tournaments, was from content, writing articles, and a little bit that I made from streaming during that time, before this was my full-time gig. So yeah, I feel for the people that were in the MPL. I know that was a dream job for many or all of them. I know, it's crushing to be told that your dream job is no longer going to exist, and it's no longer going to be competitively viable to do what you've wanted to do as a job for all this time. But, from a realistic standpoint, I'm also not surprised that happened. So I could be empathetic in and I mean, those jobs weren't just 70K jobs, TDM. They were 70K minimum plus tournament prizes that were a guaranteed minimum as well. So the MPL people, for reference, are all losing a 6-figure plus job, and the Rivals members were probably 40 to 50 grand at a minimum. They better have a bridge for these players? No, I mean, that's a risk they took going in. There's a reason why there were people that would have qualified for the MPL and Rivals initially, and they turned it down to keep their traditional jobs, because it was always a gamble, chat. That's what it is. Magic is gambling. It's a game of chance that you could mitigate some of that chance through skill, but yeah. It's yeah. Capitalism is, yeah, that's true too. Most things are variations of gambling. All right, I think I've said everything I have to say on this topic. I don't know. As far as someone who isn't directly impacted by the MPL aspect of this, I am optimistic based on the language that this article uses, that what is going to come out of this will be good for the community as a whole. While it definitely sucks for the fraction of a percent that were in the MPL and the Rivals leagues, this is going to benefit a majority of Magic players. The changes that are going to come out of this will be a net positive for many people. Here's a Brad Nelson tweet. All right, let's look up. Oh. All right, fine. I'm not done reacting yet. People are still sending me links. We're gonna do it. We're gonna chill. We're gonna chill on the reacts for a little bit. It's possible that this is the correct move. MPL/Rivals has been too exclusive, and league play has presented some significant hurdles. If they come back with a reasonable system in 22-23, it's possible we get the return to GP and PT-like events. Then again, that might not happen. We'll see. I mean, like the implication from this esports article is that we're gonna get GPs/PTs. All right, so for reference, I'm sure that this tweet is in reference to the fact that I would bet Crokies is almost assuredly one of the highest paid Magic content creators in the industry. He crushes the game category on Twitch. He has high sub count, high viewer count, all of that. So like, you know, he's a person who's invested in content creation as a career as opposed to just playing the game. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I mean, like, yeah, that's true, right? Like, yep. There's a link to that one if you wanna give Brad a like because he's funny. So again, for people that are just jumping into as a wrap up, the implication here is that digital isn't going away, but it sounds like Arena is going to assume a role that's similar to what Magic Online has been, which is to say that Arena will be supplemental to paper play as opposed to being the pinnacle. It'll be something that we have in addition to paper Magic, but it's not going to overshadow paper Magic like they've really pushed for with the MPL. So I wouldn't be surprised if when they figure things out at the end of all this, if we get an arena-focused tournament series similar to the MOX, the Magic Online Championship Series. So this is basically just saying their goal is to return to paper being the pinnacle of premier play, while Arena can still exist and feed into that. Yeah, and I would bet we get an Arena version of the MOX that feeds into paper tournaments. Yeah, and I'm like I don't like Arena's making them money, chat. I just think Wizards is coming to the, in my opinion, correct realization that dumping money into the competitive aspect of Arena, like here's a you want a lukewarm take. The Mr. Beast $50,000 giveaway probably created more new Magic Arena players than the MPL did in however many years the MPL has existed. That I would not be surprised if that was true. If the single Mr. Beast event created more new Arena players and more new Magic players than the MPL did in its 2 or 3 years or however long we've been dealing with the MPL. All right, let's go back to playing some Magic, huh? I'm still planning to play Arena. That being said, you know, when it's safe and reasonable, I've been poked twice. I'm vaccinated. When it's safe and reasonable to go back to playing in paper tournaments, I'm gonna play in paper tournaments again at some point. Not every weekend again, like I did when I was really on the grind, but it's playing, shuffling up on occasion. I miss traveling to cities that are nice to travel to. Something I am looking forward to, personally.